Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome back to Pardon Me While I Elevate. This is episode 16. Sounds so crazy, but I love it. Okay, so today's topic is going to be momentum and just sort of the concept of momentum and how much it can help in the process of everything that has to do with entrepreneurship. So, in preparation for this episode, I have been kind of researching around the internet about what other people might think are the most important things about entrepreneurship or like the cornerstones of what an entrepreneur needs to embody in order to be successful and all these things. So one of the best and the most relatable things to me and my journey through entrepreneurship was a Harvard Business School list of the 10 characteristics of the most successful entrepreneurs. So I'm just going to read the 10 characteristics, and then I'll kind of go through them a little bit one by one. So they are curiosity, willingness to experiment, adaptability, decisiveness, self awareness, um, risk tolerance, comfort with failure, persistence, innovative thinking, and long term focus. So I've covered a lot of these characteristics actually before today, and I'm happy to say that because they really align with a lot of the things that I think and practice in my entrepreneurship journey, which only makes this more special. But a lot of these characteristics kind of come at different times, but it's just it's a good snapshot of every single thing. And like self-awareness is my biggest thing, like across all of the work that I do and all of my entrepreneurial endeavors. Self-awareness is the biggest tool at your disposal, and just being aware of who you are and aware of what you put out in the world, and you know reflecting and making sure that you're not coming in too hot, coming in too, cold, like all the things about self. It's really just where everything starts. So that to me from this list is just kind of like where it all begins. Not to say that the other ones are like less important, but I just like that one is one of my all-time favorites because that isn't just in entrepreneurship that it's going to pay you back. That is going to be just across the board in your whole life. So if there's like something that you want to invest more time in, or give a little more to, self-awareness is just through and through going to pay you back. um, Curiosity is also something that I've talked about a lot along with self-awareness. Curiosity is really just the practice of staying a student. Like, when you are a student in school, let's say college, that once you graduate and once you're kind of like done, your schooling is kind of over. And if you don't go to college and you just stopped at high school, like you're not really going to be in another position where like you have this time period where you have this extensive studying. All of the learning and the knowledge gaining is going to be on you, unless it's like those little things you learn within a new job or something. But that's not like overall knowledge, or the curiosity for like the things you don't know, picking up a new skill, a new hobby. Like all of that is on you. And sometimes in school, because we've been in school for like so much of our young life, we're so used to things being at our disposal. Like, oh, I could take this class and learn all about that. I could take pottery and I have no idea. I've never even touched clay, but if I go and take this class, I can learn it. So the curiosity for continuing to be a student is so, so, so important. And we can't lose that sort of benefit of life after we have left the classroom. We have to constantly be a student of our lives and a student of our skills. And, you know, with curiosity, it's like you never want to be thinking to yourself that like you're the master of something, because the second that you feel like that, you your curiosity is kind of dead. Because if you're the master of something, you don't need to like learn more about it. You're already feeling like you know everything there is to know. So if you're constantly a student of something, you're constantly a student of your own business or your own entrepreneurial endeavors, then you're always curious. You're always trying to learn something new. So huge on the curiosity thing. They sometimes say like there are two types of people when they go to a museum. One of the types of people go up to a painting, they appreciate what the painting says and is, just, from far away. And then the second person looks at the painting, accepts it for what it is, and then goes up next to it and reads the little blurb about the artist or about the painting, about what it is, giving a little more context or a little more information about, the inspiration or what it's modeled after or whatever. So that curiosity, being that second person to go up and read that little blurb, is something that you should always seek to be, because that is where you're going to always be a student of whatever it is that you're learning or seeing or a part of, right? So the next one is willing to experiment. Obviously, this one is maybe even underplayed because a lot of people are just so addicted to this concept of success. Like they just want to get there. And there are a lot of people out in the world that already are entrepreneurs, already own a business, and they're already kind of doing well or like okay enough to stand on their own and keep their location or whatever that the case may be. And sometimes those beginning steps aren't shown as much because they can be really, hard to watch. They're really hard steps. They're getting to the place where you have the brick and mortar, you have the, classroom or like whatever it is that you're seeking. But that person, just because they didn't show all of the ways that they were willing to experiment, doesn't mean they weren't experimenting, because you're learning so much through experiment. Like you don't know what the outcome is going to be. You don't know where it's going to bring you, but going this way and experimenting and having it not be what you want teaches you that the other way is what you want. So you can't be afraid of the experiment, the path of experiment, because you don't know what you don't know. And especially when you're starting out, once you try all these things and you try different paths, it might not even be a failure. It might not even be something that you hate, but you're like, that one's just like not for me, So all of the sort of things that you don't know are going to be learned within the process of experiment. So being willing to experiment is very, very important. Try something out, try this, try that. It doesn't matter if it isn't a winner, because at least like that one was not for me. And like, you know, um there's there's constantly paths, I feel like, even in my own life, like within my cookie business. I have a chocolate chip cookie, and that's my tried and true. I've sold it every single time that I've been outside with cookies because it's such a classic. Everybody loves it. And then one day I decided, what if I switch it up a little bit? Instead of doing a chocolate chip cookie, what if I just make it kind of my own? So, with using the same amount of chocolate chips, I put half the chocolate chips baked into the cookie, and then I made half the chocolate chips into like a little blob that I like push the cookie into when it's all warm, melted chocolate, so that it's like a dipped cookie on the bottom. So you're not getting more chocolate. You're not, signing up for a different sort of taste in the end, but it makes it more innovative and more yours if you're just doing something a little different. That was my experiment of the day. And I've gotten so much feedback on this cookie that they love it. They love the concept of like the bottom having this like pure chocolate on it, because it's not a thick layer, it's very thin. But let's say you bite into a cookie and that bite doesn't have chocolate chips in it, but you wanted chocolate chips in it. If there's a layer that's across the entire bottom of the cookie, you know that every single bite's going to have chocolate in it. So that was an experiment of mine, and my friend and I talked about it after that, and she was like, I also did the same thing with my s'mores cookie, that same dip concept. And she was like, I think this is your winner. I think this is what's going to set you apart from other companies, because this dip is very cool. You can do it with like glazes, you can do it with chocolate, you can do it with so many things, and it can innovate your cookie. So again, just don't be afraid to experiment on the things. And if you don't like it, you never have to do it again. But at least you know that you don't like it because you did it, and right? So these are really important things. Adaptability, um, you know, like change can come without warning. Change can be pushed into your life and you didn't choose for it to be there. And, when you're trying to sort of fit with the market and give the customer what they need in whatever capacity, or the client what they need. Sometimes adapting to like the climate outside, what people are wanting, what they're asking for is really important. And it's not always super easy for someone that has an established thing going on to just like quickly pivot and go this other way. But adapting what you're doing and not fully changing what you're doing, but just adapting some of your little details or procedures to help the customer or the client more, that is something that if you can make it a quick turnaround, you can just adapt to it really fast. These things are not going to be like revolutionary. It's not going to like change the face of your brand or what you're doing, but they're little tweaks. It's like little updates to your iPhone. Like, how quickly can you update your iPhone, right? Your business. How quickly can you respond to what the market is asking for? And as quickly as you can respond to it, that that adaptability is going to help you in the long run. So how much you can just sit there and be like, oh, that's a really good idea, you know, people are asking, but let's just do that. And then boom, you're doing that, rather than being like, oh, I really just want to do what I want to do, and you know, like, I don't really care what's going on outside, or oh, this machine broke and it makes my cookies and I have to sell tomorrow. Like, what am I going to do? Okay, boom, go to your next door neighbor and ask them if they have a mixer. Or just the adaptability of just figuring it out right on the spot, right now, with the tools that you have at your disposal. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to move towards to fix the problem? And if you can do that, if you can adapt to all these little sort of things that get thrown your way, you won't have any problems, because it's not going to stress you out. You're just going to say, things are going to happen, things are going to come up. And if I can just move through them and just not let them bog me down and not let them keep me in a rut, I will be fine, right? The next one is decisiveness. So you're not always going to have all of the information in front of you that you want to truly make an informed decision, right? There's so much that you learn along the way. And sometimes when you're making a decision, you are 100% in the know that you don't have all the information that you wish you could have to make this decision. Sometimes we have to make a decision when we only have 30% of the information that we want. Sometimes we just have to be decisive. And so that's why some personality types, like I was talking about last week with like the birth charts and who you are and all these things, your strengths and your weaknesses, if your strength is not being decisive, maybe you need a partner in this entrepreneur thing. I'm not judging. I'm not saying you have to have a partner, but like, it might make it easier for you, because being decisive is huge. Like, which way we're going to go, even with the adaptability. Like, if my mixer breaks and I have to make cookies for tomorrow's sell day, what am I going to do? The stores are closed. I can't go all the way to the city. I don't have $500 to buy a new mixer. Like, what do I do? Right? Do I sacrifice my sell day? That's decision one. Do I go in my building and ask people if they have a mixer? That's option two. Like, there's all these things. You have to just make these decisions really fast. And you might think to yourself, okay, I'm going to go ask my neighbor for their mixer and I'm going to bring it upstairs. And then 20 minutes later, you try your own mixer and it works again. So you don't have all the information all the time, and you have to just be quick with these decisions. You have to follow your instincts. If you're able to be self-aware, your instincts are pretty like loud, and you're good at following them because you trust yourself. So being decisive is also just a practice of trusting yourself, knowing that you have a good head on your shoulders, that you've made good decisions in the past, and that you're going to continue to make good decisions. And if it leads you down a path that doesn't work, you still were able to stand up and make that decision like an adult with only 30-40% of the information. And that still makes you a winner, because you didn't get caught in it. It wasn't like, oh my God, like, do I ask my neighbor? Do I wait? Like, and when you're doing that, when you're mulling all of these things over, you're wasting time. Sometimes we have some time to spare, and sometimes that wasted time is not a big deal. But sometimes we have to really rise to that occasion and say to ourselves, if I don't make this decision right now, then I'm going to be stressed the entire time. I really want to make money tomorrow. I really need to sell my cookies tomorrow. And if I can't make these cookies, I'm effed. So like, what does that mean, right? So quick on your feet, decision making, very, very important, but it's also very rewarding to make those decisions on your feet and see later how much they helped you, how much this thing did not bog you down. You did not get in your own way. You just said, yep, let's do this. And you just moved right on. There was no stress. There was no anxiety. It was a freeing concept to just know that you could make that choice and move right along. So the next one is risk tolerance. So I think this is really important because it goes hand in hand with the willingness to experiment. It's sort of like the same concept. Like, what's your tolerance for taking a risk? Do you know how much it's gonna, do you know how much risk is too much risk? Do you know how to handle taking this risk? Do you know when you have to play it safe? Do you do you scale your risk, right? So the tolerance of risk is not saying, oh my God, take all the risks you can possibly take and go above and beyond. The tolerance is how much you're willing, how many risks you're willing to take where it still feels okay for you. If you're a person that's a little bit more like, you want to stay within your safety, like, are you taking risks at all? Right? Do you know how to handle these risks if you take even just one? And then for the people that like risk, like me, I very much go for the risk. Are you still staying safe in some capacity? Is there still some stability in what you're doing and everything isn't a risk, right? So it's the tolerance of your own self to be regulated, that knowing this risk is a good risk, this risk is not a good risk. I'm taking 12 risks over here. I need to have, at least 6 that I'm not taking risks over here. So that tolerance is just your balance of saying, this makes sense, this doesn't. I'm going to go for this, I'm not going to go for this, or I'm going to push myself to take more risks because there could be far more reward if I do that. So the risk tolerance is really just knowing yourself, knowing what you're comfortable with, pushing yourself a little bit to do more if that's not something you go towards a lot, or calming a little bit back from risks if you know that you go towards them every single time if you could. Okay, so the next one is, let's see here, comfort with failure. This is probably one of my favorite ones because it will show a character so fast. It will show who you are and what you're built from and what your foundation looks like. If you are comfortable with failure, you can never, ever, ever lose because, get knocked down 9 times, but get up 10, you are a winner. Every single person fails. That is part of life. And if it hurts you and takes so much from you that you don't get back up, or it takes you very, very long amounts of time to get back up, you are not confident enough. This is about insecurities and the things you feel about yourself. You don't really believe in yourself enough. These things just can't get in your way. They cannot bog you down. Failure is part of success, right? There is never going to be a time where someone just always wins. And the troubling part is, for the people that look like they always win from the outside, the second that they lose, oh my God, are they down bad? They are down so, so bad. It's kind of like those people in life that you see, they always succeed. They succeed all over the place. And then the first time that anyone ever tells them no, or they don't get the thing that they want to do, or they don't get into the school, or they don't make the basketball team, or like whatever it is, it's like their world is ending, right? I can relate to this because, let's say when you're a kid, there are like kind of 2 types of bodies, right? One is like the skinnier, like more athletic build, or like they don't retain calories very much. And then there's like the chubbier kid, right? The 2 different ones. And of course there's people in the middle, but like, let's just talk about those 2 different ones. When I was a kid, I was like the chubbier kid, and my brother was like the slender kid. And it was a process for me to always be like working out and being active and making sure I'm paying attention to what I eat and all these things. Whereas I'm watching my classmates and my brother being able to not work out that much and eat whatever they want, and it's just not really showing on their body. Now, as we get older, all of those people that always knew how to work out and always knew how to get back up and not eat as much and just be conscious of what you're eating and just conscious in general of just your body and what you need, they are the ones that are going to continue to win. And the people that never had to pay attention to what they ate are the ones that are going to, as we age, start to see some bad side effects because they never had to pay attention to these things. They never had to worry about those things, so they don't know how. And then you get to a point where your metabolism slows down with age, weight stays on your body easier, and they gain weight really fast. And you are the one that always knew how to do this, so you can continue to know how to do it. It's that same thing of just embracing a little bit of failure. Your comfort with not being on the easiest path, or having the easiest, flow right to what you're doing, that is just a better setup, because you are going to always be in this mind space where you're like, it's okay. Sure, that didn't get me what I wanted, but it doesn't mean it's over. I just have to try this other thing, or I have to go a little harder, or a little combo of both, or I have to go spark my curiosity and find something that I don't even know about yet to go and do, right? So it's the fundamentals of who your character is. If you can handle failure and you can bounce right back and it doesn't pull you down, and that concept of like bring you into the Bane hole, right? Like is failure just going to be one of those things where you have the rope tied around you like Bane did in Batman, and he's trying to get up, he's jumping from those ledges to ledges, and then he falls and it like breaks his ribs and he's hanging there and he's back at the bottom, and all that work he just did is now for nothing because he's back at the bottom. If you are based in ego when you're starting this and all you want to do is win, win, win and have success after success, you are not going to be built in any confidence. Your ego is something you create. It is not real. It is something that a person creates to protect their mind from the reality of the situation. So if you pay into ego and you always want to win, you're not really going to win long term. If you pay into confidence and you work really hard and you finally get out of that Bane hole, no matter how many times you fall back down, you are going to be built for all the wins. And no matter what happens, nothing will be able to hold you down because you are willing to get back up and continue to fight. So even that momentum of like, you get back down to the bottom of the Bane hole, right? Your momentum is now at a stop. So momentum is this concept where once you take the first step and you're in motion, it is easier to keep going. But from a stop to a start is the hardest part. Like if you think about having like a wheelbarrow, and the wheelbarrow is like full of bricks, right? It's heavy. The first step, that first oomph to like push that damn thing into motion, that is the hardest part. Now, once it's going, it's on a wheel. So you can just continue it going. You can slow it down a little bit. You can make it go faster, but it's on a wheel and the momentum is going. It's up to you, the pace, but the pace is less important than the fact that you're not stopping. So if you slow way down, way down, way down, way down, it's so much easier to get back going up than it will be if you're stopped to get back going up because of momentum. Momentum is going to be your best friend. It's going to be the thing throughout all of these. We're not even done with the list yet, but through all of these things, momentum and making sure that you're not stopping, you're just maybe slowing down, but you can get back going if you're still moving, right? So the next one is, let's see here, persistence. So persistence goes hand in hand with momentum, like I was just saying, because it's really easy to keep going on the good days. Like you're persisting, you're continuing your journey on the good days. It feels good. You have a exciting thing that you're working towards. It's fun. It's what you like. You chose this path for yourself, so hopefully it's what you like. But what about the persistence on the bad days? What about the persistence on the days where you feel like everything is going south? What's the persistence going to look like after 4 months of running into ruts, getting into a place where you don't feel like you are winning? What does the persistence look like on those days, right? Those are the days that you have to remember all of the reasons that you're here, all of the steps and choices that got you to this point, and remembering that failure is not bad, and getting up and being strong and persisting through the negative is going to get you back onto the path that you want to be on. And life is not supposed to be easy. If life was easy, we would learn nothing, right? We would just keep going. But because life is hard and challenging, it teaches us so many things that help us to make it not as hard in the future. So persisting through the bad days is just so much more important than persisting through the good days, because everyone can persist through the good days. That is the easiest thing to do. So if you continue with persistence and, you have this daily function of persistence, then you're going to continue to find the things that work for you and leave behind the things that you tried that didn't work, right? So the next one is innovative thinking. And this is, to me, this is very close to adaptability, because it allows your mind to think bigger and wider, but also to become like, these concepts, like in your business. Always thinking of ways to innovate and elevate what you're doing. So, um, when you make your mind bigger, when you're innovating and you're constantly sort of seeking innovation, you are not only trying to expand your mind wider and bigger, but you're also doing that for your business. That's the same practice. So a lot of these things start with self. If you can do these with self, you can do these with your business. These are like very grown, mature concepts. And that's great. Obviously, we're grown-ups doing these business endeavors, right? So it's perfectly fitting. But having innovation, it's like constantly saying, it's kind of like the museum concept where you go and you read the thing. It's like, okay, my business is working well, but I want more. I want to do bigger and better. This concept, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, is in the incinerator. Forget that concept for the rest of your life. It's the worst. To me, that is the worst thing you could possibly tell yourself, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it is literally saying it's doing fine. Let's just keep going. Instead of saying, okay, it's doing fine, but like fine is not the parameters that I want. Fine is not good enough. I don't want that. I want a higher standard than fine. I want this to be excellent. I want this to be functioning at the highest possible capacity so that it can output the best. So innovation is like making something better and like, elevating a concept. And innovation is your brain constantly moving and thinking. It's kind of like a couple episodes what I was talking about. Like once you lock in to this idea and you're dedicated to your business and it's so exciting and it pulls you in and you want to do all these things for it, you're thinking to yourself like, kind of like the cookie thing. I was thinking like, okay, like I have a chocolate chip cookie and people really like that. It's a classic cookie, but like, what can I do to like take it a step further? Like, I don't want to put any other flavors in it because people love the classic flavor of the chocolate chip cookie. And I don't want to do too much, but I want to add something that like makes it mine. So, okay, what if I do half the chocolate chips in it and half the chocolate chips underneath it? Okay, that's innovation. That's saying I've never had a cookie like that. Sure, I've had cookies with chocolate on the bottom, but I've never had this type of thing. Maybe it exists out in the world, but I've never had it. So, okay, innovation. Let's use the same amount of chocolate, but distribute it differently. Or like with my s'mores cookie, I constantly s'mores is like one of my favorite sweets ever. Just the combination of flavors is really for me. And all of the cookies that I've ever had out in the world that are s'mores are a chocolate-based cookie. I might have even talked about this in a previous video. But I don't want a chocolate-based cookie because when you bite into a s'mores, of course the chocolate is important for the flavor, but it's not like the overwhelming flavor. Like there's graham cracker, which is like a sort of vanilla-y thing, it's more so than chocolate. Then you have marshmallow, and then chocolate is there. You want to taste it, but it's this little sliver. So why would the chocolate, like the cookie, be chocolate? That just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, like, how do I make my s'mores cookie that tastes the way I want a s'mores cookie to taste? Because you're technically adding in another flavor with the cookie because there's no cookie in a s'more, right? So I just went back to the drawing board and came up with this whole cookie of my own that was s'mores. And the amount of feedback that I've been getting that is so positive is just shown me that innovation is what's making this do well. And I don't think that I would have pushed myself to have that type of innovation if I hadn't thought to myself, this is what I want for my business. I don't want to just keep doing what everybody else is doing. You know how many cookbooks, like baking books I can find with s'mores cookies in them? They're almost all chocolate based, or they're like a little cup. They're just the last thing on earth that I would want to create. So instead of going and doing that, you can find, a batter that you can mix in whatever you want. It's just like a universal batter mixture. And then you can put whatever you want in it. Innovation of just thinking to yourself, I'm going to create a cookie. I don't need a cookbook to tell me exactly how to do something because I have the innovation enough to want to create this. It took me 3 batches of making s'mores cookies with different starting batters and different mix-in styles and different, like, if I'm using a marshmallow or if I'm using fluff in the baking process. All of these things, again, it's the willingness to experiment also, but it's, it's the innovation. And I'm going to get there because I'm determined, I'm persistent in my willingness to experiment, right? These all go hand in hand. So, innovation is a big one. Always make yourself the student of what you're doing and never, ever, ever, like I said before, ever, ever, ever commit yourself to being the master of your craft, because that is where all learning dies. Okay, so then the last one is long-term focus. This also fits perfectly with momentum because it's not a class that lasts 4 months, like I was saying before. This is not a job that you quit after you find a better role in a year. This is a deal that you make with yourself for the long haul. This is not something that, you can pick up and, you know, take off the ground with because it's new and exciting and different and something that you like right now. And then all of a sudden it gets boring and it's getting hard and you don't really want to do it anymore. And now it's like, I'll just go find another job, whatever. No, this is something that you're going to put a lot of effort into. It's going to be something that you want for the long haul, and long-term focus on that is literally the only thing that's going to keep it alive. If you drop it off and you stop the momentum and it's, like I said, sort of in a stopped position, it's going to take so much more effort to get that thing back into momentum and get yourself ready enough to have that oomph to get it pushed back going, that wheelbarrow with the bricks, than it's going to be if you just walk really slow, right? Every single day with my dogs, when I go on a walk, they're in a wagon. Well, they walk some and then they get in the wagon. Now, if I stop, the dogs together weigh 60 pounds and the wagon weighs 40 pounds. So if I stop, it takes, especially if it's like on a uphill, if I stop and talk to somebody, the oomph it takes me to get it back going is so different than just keeping it going. Sure, there's some times where I have to put some effort into going, but it's nothing like getting going. So that momentum of knowing that if you just slow down a little bit instead of stop, it's always going to be easier. And when things are going to be less, like enticing and exciting and pulling you in and new, all these things in the very beginning that like help you to stay focused. Once all of that wears off, you are kind of over it in some capacity. Now think about needing to rededicate yourself, restart your momentum, redo all this stuff. You're asking yourself to put in so much effort to something that you don't even feel that jazzed about because it's, not new and exciting anymore. And it's not immediately winning. So you don't know if you have faith in it. Now you have to muster all this like strength and courage and all this stuff just to get it back going. Whereas again, if you just slow down for a little while, you can get going much quicker, and you're going to have to put in less in the long haul if it's just a slow rather than a stop. So I can't stress momentum enough. It's going to be the thing that makes your hard days easier. And it's going to make sure that in the long run, you do get what you want out of this business. And it's not going to be one of those things where it's like, oh, I know I dropped it off a couple months ago and I really got to get back to it. It's almost like working out. Like, oh, I know I really got to get back in the gym. Like, it always makes me feel good to be in the gym, but like, you know, I'm out of shape now and it's going to take 2 weeks of hard work just to get back in shape. And those 2 weeks, your body's so sore and you're so tired. And oh, I just don't know if I want to go through that. But like, once the 2 weeks are over, like it's back to amazing workouts and feeling good and being in shape and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, well, if you just slowed down a little in your workouts rather than stopping, you'd still be in shape. You might have to work a little bit to get endurance back up or to get your weight amount back to a higher, amount, but it's not you're out of shape. So it's the same concepts, and momentum is going to pull you through all of these 10, characteristics. And I fully back these 10 characteristics so much. They're all so hand in hand. They all work together. They're all a function that they're not independent from each other. They come together as one body to help you do all of the things that you need. And they're all very important words. They're very mature, earned words. And I very much sort of encourage you to look into these words and to hear, these 10 words or these 10 characteristics and just think about how they apply to your life, how you welcome those things in. And like, if there's one of these things that you're not very good at, this is the perfect opportunity for you to be like, oh, that's one of the ones. Okay, well, I need to work on that. And then I can be in a better place. And then once you have these 10 characteristics under your belt, you will do nothing but thrive. And you will not be scared. You will not be held down. You will not, nothing will keep you back. It will just be you on this journey, knowing that if you fail, you can get back up. If you experiment over here and it doesn't work, you can go this way. There's just countless ways to get back up or to keep going. But the one way that is going to hurt you the very, very most is if you decide at any point that you're going to stop. Because like momentum works, it's so much harder to get back going once you've stopped. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I have been loving this so much. It's been very rewarding, and it's been a very good challenge for me to continue to come up with topics to talk about and to just sort of dissect. I've been loving it. Like I was saying before, the challenge of doing this is very good for me. It's expanding my own brain. It's expanding my innovation. It's doing all the things. So I'm very grateful, and I'm grateful to have a place where I can share all of the things. And thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week. And if you want to reach out to me for any help, you can reach out for Pardon Me While I Elevate, and I would be happy to help you with any of the businesses that you are trying to start or create or get out of a rut. So, all right. Thank you so much. See you next week.